So I have. Let's do. We're gonna go to Bumsteer, folks. And I don't know. We need to get
Pretty
that
good,
guy.
man.
Yeah, this is my
We had a
cow.
cartoon for a little bit. I don't know where we put it.
We do. I'm just bad at labeling things on my gaming rig, to be completely frank. Um, but so Tim Pool has been written up by the Daily Beast, an article that I found very amusing. Let me share it with all of you. It's called "How Coward and Phony Tim Pool." That's a quote from former employees of his. How coward and phony Tim Pool became one of the biggest political YouTubers on the planet. Now, so where to start with Tim Pool? This article does a pretty good job of highlighting that he's basically like he's one of the better guys at taking the center left pose
Mm.
and using it to just affirm the right wing. Tim Pool comes from Occupy Wall Street. Actually, I think he was on Majority Report back in the day. He
Wow.
was on Occupy Wall Street, making a name for himself because he basically had streaming equipment and the capabilities to be down there. And if first mover, early bird gets the worm sort of thing. This article does a great job of tracing how he quickly outwore his welcome when it came to the Occupy activists by simultaneously taking the pose that I'm an objective journalist and I have to put everything up, even though it might get people arrested, and also having the pose of I'm part of this movement of Occupy Wall Street.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm
I
going to speak for it.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a few amusing things here. So um, one is can confirm some of the stuff in this. Well, uh, not directly, but so Tim Tim has this tweet here that I've always find very amusing because it includes it's sort of a reference to my interaction with Tim. He's getting upset about Becca Lewis, who's a sort of YouTube ethnographer. And Tim is very self-important in the middle of a thread here. While many journalists have quit, gone to PR, or capitulated, I am focusing my growth and resources on costly, low profitability field reporting. From launching Vice News, being regularly inside ABC News HQ to NYC, to now running several businesses, I tell you this is involved expert and insider as a member of ONA and past speaker at Columbia, NYU, and ONA events. So I saw him at NYU.
I love this.
I have not been able to find out if there was another speaking engagement he had there, because if you Google Tim Pool NYU, you get that tweet and then my tweet telling the story I'm about to tell, which is that Tim Pool did speak at NYU. It was at in a small classroom, about 30 people, for video game theory. And now I am someone who can absolutely defend humanitarian education or education in the humanities that would include video game theory. That was a great class. Homo Ludens, I forget who wrote that, but a great book on man's humankind's our need to play as a way to interact in the world is actually great. A great class. The day that Tim Pool came in was not one of the best days. And I just want to play this clip because this actually is very similar to my experience of that class, which is Tim Pool came in and just talked about his gear, which is, again, the only selling point he had for Occupy, that he could do a live stream. And here he is talking about Google Glass. And I think he might have.
Oh, that's so good.
Can you tell us how you use them on the field, and how can the journalists use them?
The key benefit to glass is that you're always in the field. The point of wearing it is that no matter where I'm at, I can take a picture or video instantly. So I can catch anything that happens, breaking news. And then more importantly is that it's the opposite of a distraction. It's totally out of my frame of mind. So when I'm running a video or if I'm shooting a live shot, I can totally forget about the camera.
So yeah, anyway, my video game theory course cost about $500 per class period, and that's basically what I got. Like bring a
I got a camera on my face.
bring an external exercise brick, yeah. And there's this amazing. I need to bring this up too. We might go a little bit long, but Tim Pool Google Glass. The way it was written up by the tech press. So this is how he started building an audience, right? Just this inanity. Like Google, how Vice's Tim Pool used Google Glass to cover Istanbul. And the funny thing about these that's detailed in this Daily Beast article is he goes to these places for like Vice News and stuff, Ferguson also, and he can't do basic reporting. He's incompetent to go up and speak to people. Basically, like he's either, and he has not a whole lot of interest in either. Here. Oh yeah, well shoot, I can't find the thing, but it's basically him at Vice's newsroom, which I've also been to. Actually, I worked for Vice News for a little bit. Again, full disclosure.
You were just following in his
I know.
man. Matt was so inspired. Matt was so inspired by Tim Pool. Come on, man, admit it. Everything.
I've been carrying external battery packs in both back pockets ever since that class period.
Matt's wearing Google Glass right now.
So there's a great sort of takedown of Tim Pool here that kind of goes into how he basically. So what happens with right wingers, I think, is they get tired of sniffing their own farts with media, and which is everyone does this, right? Like I was there with, I guess the Jon Stewart and NPR days, 2010. Yeah, and you want to get a sense of what else is out there. Tim Pool is there for the people who want to think that they're getting something different, but really it's just right wing.
The same thing,
the exact same thing. So I have this here. This is from Jose Not a J, who did this really great video called "How Tim Pool Keeps His Audience Ignorant." And I mean, there's a lot of great stuff in here about. Actually, we're just going to play some of that about Tim Pool and the type of dumb calls he's made. Here's one. And again, like he takes this pose like he's again like the conversion narrative. He used to be on the center and now. But here's some of the things he was saying. Tell you what I think can happen. Oh, hold on. That's a little bit quiet, isn't it?
Yeah, I can hear.
Cheating. I think Trump's going to landslide. I think Trump would have had a landslide no matter what. I think the polls are fake. And I think what's happening now is Trump's going to win, and they're going to say, but he didn't really win. No amount of mail-in ballots will matter. If Trump gets 537 or 36 or even 538, every single electoral vote. We all know Joe Biden will lose. Like, let's be real, man. As I've stated 1,000,001 times, Donald Trump's going to win. The Republicans are going to sweep.
Again, like he acts like he's just reading this news.
Yeah, he's just getting the tea leaves.
And it really traces like one thing the only thing I think is worth emphasizing about January 6th at this point is that the people were there on a lie about the election. They were lied there that Trump won. I mean, some of them probably knew Trump was lying about the election. We're down to steal shit, right? But to the extent that like anybody thinks that like there's a massive problem in this country with people being misled about the just who wins an election. And I think you look around the world, I'm not comfortable saying that America is exceptional, that can't do something here, especially after 2000. Like, right, like this sort of bullshit about constitutionality and elections, like it's all a farce. This is a power play. And like if Trump had, like that's the thing is like, there's a kernel of truth where people look at it that's farcical because Trump just does not have this sort of discipline that he could. But I mean, he got like AGs and shit on board to try. But let's just play this this from Jose Not a J. This a longer clip here because I also want to. There's a few quotes in this article about how Tim's really dumb, and I think that's also key to point out. Like. He's a guy who has surfed by basically being on this like cutting edge where Google's going to send him because he's an Occupy Wall Street guy and Vice News is going to let him in and ABC News and all these people like my fucking video game theory professor put him forward as some sort of expert and he's very smart about not fucking that up by like basically owning what he's about. But his instincts show I just
he
gotta,
betrays it. He takes the mask off all the time.
Exactly.
I mean, we did the one where he was talking about the King of France or whatever, and telling everybody to move into the woods, which apparently is some wonderland of wheat and honey.
yeah, exactly. Why didn't everybody else do that? Here's a little bit more from Jose Not a J, where Tim gets ahead of himself a little bit and ahead of like the sort of people who would tell him just cool it a little bit on how much you're pumping this story, Tim.
This lawsuit, which would supposedly overturn the results in several states Trump had lost during the election, Tim got on the ground floor with this story before it had been thoroughly undermined by the mainstream media. On Twitter, Tim expressed patience on this revelation, claiming that before making any statements on this new case, we should wait and see how the Supreme Court ruled on it. That same day, he released a video titled, "Texas Just Nuked Democrats from Orbit with SCOTUS Lawsuit Calling Election Unconstitutional." Because Tim was lurking late at night, this video came out early in the life cycle of this story, before the mainstream media had torn this story to pieces. And blissfully ignorant of the real possibilities of this working out, they were actually really low, Tim is breathless in describing it.
They're probably going to win this one, and this is huge. This is going to change the outcome of the election. In my opinion, we'll see.
A few days later, though, when the Supreme Court dismissed the case, Tim takes a different tone in the video. Texas GOP calls for new union of states as SCOTUS denies
Oh, that was awesome.
election.
It was West who
It's
said that.
not over.
I'll tell you, it is not over until Joe Biden is in the White House, and even then, it might not end. They don't get it. They don't understand what's happening.
Tim went out on a limb for this story, and he got burnt. It ended up going nowhere and doing nothing, like every attempt Trump and his team have made to change the results of the election. But Tim can't have his audience walking away from his videos feeling dejected and defeated, and so he pushes the deadline of when things will be over to never. Things will never be over. Trump supporters will never accept this election, and soon we're going to have a civil war. Tim's role as copium dealer should be understood as broadly anti-left and specifically pro-Trump. That is to say, he's more likely to produce content that attacks left-wing social views and politicians, and more likely to defend right-wing ones as they relate specifically to Donald Trump. That isn't to say he never does the opposite of either of those things, it's just highly unlikely he'll either title a video or spend most of his time praising the left or criticizing Donald Trump. What's quite...
And, one thing the Daily Beast article goes into is, like, there's reported, like, Tim Pool actually saying, ever since he came out voting for Trump, his numbers have just been massive. And I mean, I think it's difficult with someone like Tim Pool, because to me, it seems like just super dumb guy. But not to fucking Vice News, not to ABC News, not to NYU, or all these places that had him speak about stuff. So he has this massive following of, like, basically tech authoritarians, frankly, that just want to, like, see the left shit on, but not as sort of distasteful way as like Crowder or somebody does. That's just like explicit in their right wing affiliations. And like, there's a reason for that, because like it's that stuff isn't appealing. Like, right wing ideology isn't appealing. Like, you can sell people on right wing outcomes much more easily, I think, if you aren't doing that shit.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think the way that you framed it at the beginning is perfect. It's just like, he wants people who consider themselves to be conservatives to feel like, oh, they're getting someone from the left, or someone who's not swimming in the same waters as us, to validate everything that you think is true. I mean, that's the role. And marketing, it's not too bad. But the thing, and the thing that's so funny about these kind of people, though, is he's like able to control who interacts with him directly to prevent him from being exposed on most of the stuff, which is why it's worthwhile to come at him.
Yeah, which is also, I want to I want to put a shout out. This guy's name is Moonlord, I guess.
Moonlord.
I don't know. That's what people were tagging the surfs and stuff and calling this guy Moonlord. But Moonlord is the guy who is trying to get through to Tim about, like, hey, if the king is, like, hoarding all the grain, hypothetically, and saying, like, you have to starve to death because I'm the king and I need this grain, that maybe you could step in and do something. This guy's name is Go ahead. This guy's name is Moonlord. I just want to say that real quick. And
I just wanted. I want you to keep going. I just think It's actually so funny that he's like learned his role, that he's basically become like Edmund Burke, like not in like his like, you know, ability to produce, like basically like, oh no, you know, like anyone coming after the monarchy is like extremely dangerous, right?
Honestly, we'll play both these clips because that's like a genuine like representation of Corey Robin's thesis, like of conservatism, the reactionary mind, tracing it back to Evan Burke. Here's that part.
There's a homeless guy outside, and he's like, "Let me sleep in your house," and I'm like, "No, you are causing my suffering. It is your fault." Then activists show up and they're like, "The only reason this man is suffering is because Tim Pool won't let him in his house." It's like, no, the dude is responsible for his own shelter, man.
To a point, but the French Revolution.
No, literally to period.
Well, but if there's a monarch that's hoarding all the materials so that the people are starving and suffering, it is the monarch's fault.
Why?
Because he's by force keeping them from their stuff or the stuff that their community has produced.
So can they like leave?
No.
I mean,
Is the king going, you can't even leave?
They made the
Yes,
shit.
like that's a core tenet of feudalism.
That's
by the
also
way.
true. Yeah,
you know, like you can't leave the land. You belong to the land, and if you try to leave, they will hunt you down and bring you back. That's why, Tim, people ended up revolting against that system and chopping his like brutally ending that system. Like, what the hell is he talking? I mean, I know it's absurd from the get-go, but it's just like, even as a thought experiment, historically, it just doesn't work.
Well, it's already just injustice because he literally said the question was great, like the stuff you made. Like, yeah, I made this fucking bridge. I made this windmill. I made all this feudal shit that we're using to produce stuff. I'm your miller. Like, I'm not just gonna leave all this stuff I've been doing because, like, I fucking built that. Actually, it wasn't your ass sitting on like sitting in silk pajamas in a castle. Like, so I'm gonna stay here and I'm gonna like actually want to share in this. And then also the other point is, no, you can't. You'd be hunted down by a fucking knight. And then to the extent you could get to another.
Tim Pool's watching Braveheart. Why don't they just leave?
To the extent you could get somewhere else, they'd look at you like an outsider and be very, very suspicious. Which is probably something Tim also approved of. So yeah. Anyway, here's another instance. This is, I guess, when Destiny was on, where this is very revealing to the point where I think Tim knows he needs to protect. He knows the game he's playing a little bit, and he needs to protect himself from being seen as just a Trump partisan. Because Moon God or Moon Lord or whatever the fuck his name is. By the way, bro, if Tim Pool, if you go south, get in touch with me. I'd love to talk. But if like he gives away something about Tim Pool's audience that Tim does not want. It literally covers for in real time here, unless maybe I'm wrong.
With this audience, I notice, I don't want to be too general, but when I start to dump on Trump, if I just start to insult him, people get really angry at the other stuff I say in the conversation. If I don't trash Trump,
I don't think that's true.
I've noticed a trend, because a lot of people that watch this show seem to love him.
Well, you're looking at the comments.
I look at the comments.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the text comments.
Yep, that's why a lot of the comments are making fun of me.
With this audience,
Like,
I know.
That's pretty good.
All of Tim Pool's videos are very highly marked up on. So it's not like people are going on to troll Tim. Trump people love you, Tim. They love you.
Yeah.
Just admit it, buddy. So yeah, that's our Tim Pool stuff. Is there anything else I wanted? Oh, it is funny just to mention his incompetence in Ferguson particularly. Like, basically it says like none of the residents had any time for his questions, and he was looking up how some other YouTuber was growing an audience like on his phone the entire time. And people were saying like this was incompetence, and now it looks kind of like narcissism. But what do you know about the New Yorker's fact checking, David? Do you have like their reputation?
I mean, fact checking in general is a pretty.
Of course, yes. As a former fact checker, it is ridiculous. It's all political, and the facts.
I mean, it's definitely a place. I don't know. I mean, it's definitely a place that they're doing it. If that's what you're asking, it's definitely a place where there's departments of people. If somebody says something, they call them. They check to make sure things that are published in the magazine aren't just made up.
Yeah, it's a place that fetishizes it, is how I would say. Like that's when we were talking about that age of like the Economist, like the New Yorker was like the fact check paper. Well, I wanna just share this. This is from an article called the streamer. I don't know, some bullshit about the streamers who were going to save everybody. But the very bottom thing here is there is a correction. An earlier version of this article included a quotation from Tim Pool concerning Vice News' coverage in Ferguson. The quotation has been removed because it contains several errors. And the reason is like Tim Pool completely shat the bed when he had to go do real reporting, and then lied about like that he was out there doing real reporting, but some like Jesse Jackson interview was taking all the hits away, right? Just complete like bullshit. So that's the nature
so
of that
awesome,
New York
man.
correction. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, not to fetishize all those guys hanging out in the New York, but like Tim just sort of falling ass backwards into this thing where he like actually is going to be accountable for the things that he's saying. Like somebody's going to just verify it.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
very funny to me.
to me, it's also funny to get the New Yorker to have to retract something. I mean,
That is, oh, I mean, well, the thing is, like, it would be a great troll, right? If, like, you know, if Tim Pool wasn't just so full of himself, it's such that he thinks that, like, he actually is the one true journalist.
Yeah.
It would actually be a very hilarious thing to just get the New Yorker to just constantly have to pull retractions for just things that you pulled out of thin air.
Yeah, this was the article, the live streamers who are challenging traditional journalism. So, yeah.
And would they like to do it? The New Yorker loves to profile people like Tim Pool. Not regularly, not all the time, but when it comes to alternative media, right? That's the fun one to do because they could sort of say like, oh, this is something different. But look, they're a little crazy and they don't really know what's going on. You know, similar things that just happened.
Look at this, the lamestream media. Look at all this press, the lamestream. Like, honestly, like these guys, like Ben Shapiro, the cool kids philosopher, like they're part of the problem that they're, you know, monetizing.
Well, it's because that kind of media isn't threatening to them, is what I'm trying to say. Right. I mean, it's like it's still in the same universe because at the end of the day, we all, you know, basically it just like cements their status as the truth tellers, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's enough for Tim Pool. I mean, there's some very funny stuff elsewhere, but
I don't know how much more swimming I can do.
no, that's it.